I was the daughter my family erased, but at 29, I returned to Portland as Emma Tran, a machine learning engineer who cracked impossible problems for biotech giants. Essential, unstoppable, and ready to face the family that hadn't spoken to me since 2018, not as their invisible girl, but as a woman who knew her worth. And not as stunned to see my cousin's name. Clara was the only one who had my new number. "Emma," she said softly, "your parents are trying to reach you. They want you to come home for Easter." I froze, my heart racing. "Clara, why now? They didn't care when I left." Her voice wavered. "They're saying they miss you, Emma, but I think they heard about your job." I sat down slowly on the edge of my tiny Denver apartment bed. "Now?" I asked. "For all these years, they've been asking around," Clara said. "They seem serious." I hung up and just stared at the wall. I hadn't thought about my family in months. Years, really. But the memories flooded in fast. Always the odd one, never the favorite. I remembered sitting in a cold office chair when I was 12, knees pulled to my chest, while Drew Nguyen, my childhood psychologist, told my parents plainly, "Emma's struggles aren't from isolation, they're from being ignored." My mother scoffed. "We love both our kids equally," but I knew she was lying. My older brother, Lucas, was the charmer, basketball star, student council president, golden boy. He got the car on his 16th birthday. I got a thrift store jacket that still smelled like someone else. Even at Easter, Lucas' gifts sparkled under the tree. Mine were more like afterthoughts. But this year, they were finally calling me back, and they had no idea who I'd become. Family gatherings were always a nightmare. Lucas would hold court, loud, charming, magnetic, while I sank into the background like furniture notice. That's when I discovered coding. It started with a dusty flyer taped to the high school bulletin board. "Intro to Computer Science Club, Room 19, Tuesdays after school." I went once, then never missed a session. For the first time, I felt seen, not by people, but by the logic of code. The club became my refuge. We rebuilt old PCs from junkyard parts, we traded books, debated compilers, and stayed late debugging each other's projects. I even built my first game on a borrowed laptop. Mr. Ramirez, our teacher, pulled me aside one day. "You've got something special, Emma," he said. "Don't let anyone shrink you." I had a plan. Leave Portland and build my future from scratch. Lucas, of course, was already enrolled at an elite university in Texas, riding on my parents' full financial support. Then came that Easter dinner. My dad raised his glass. "To Lucas, making us proud at Austin." Cheers erupted. Then Mom added, "As for Emma, we're encouraging her to find steady work." "Steady work?" I'd muttered under my breath, but Lucas caught it. "What, Emma? Still dreaming of being a hacker?" he teased, winking at the table. The laughter stung deeper than the words. My uncle cracked. "We're hiring cashiers at the store." The whole table laughed, including my parents. I didn't laugh. What they didn't know was that I'd already secured a full ride to a tech-tier tech program in Colorado. Tuition, housing, even a stipend, all covered. I packed up quietly and moved into a dorm in Denver. Waitressed part-time, graduated top of my class, landed a dream job at a biotech company before the ink was dry on my diploma. 4 years later, I'd just led a multi-billion-dollar AI integration for a global pharma. The bonus, enough to buy a condo, so I called a realtor. Within a few days, my realtor found it, the perfect condo in Loudoun, 2 bedrooms, sleek kitchen, exposed brick, close to the park. At 29, I officially became a homeowner. 2 weeks before Easter, I hosted a small housewarming. Just my real friends, the ones who'd seen me pull all-nighters, cry over failed code, and still show up every day. We sat on floor cushions with sushi takeout and cheap wine, surrounded by unpacked boxes and laughter. Sophie raised her glass. "To Emma," she said, "the quiet one who turned silence into power." We clinked glasses. I smiled, but a thought lingered. I was going home in a week. But this time, I wasn't going back as the invisible girl. This time, I was coming back as someone who knew her worth. Week before Easter, I took time off work, wrapped simple but thoughtful gifts, and drove the 5 hours back to my childhood neighborhood in East Portland. The house hadn't aged well, faded siding, overgrown hedges, and a porch light that flickered like a dying memory. I rang the doorbell with trembling hands, seconds that then the door creaked open. "Emma." My mother blinked. "Wow, it's really you?" She gave me a brief, stiff hug. "You've changed," she said, her eyes scanning me with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "Heard you're doing well. Is it true you're some big shot now? You look different inside." The scent hit me. Old wood polish, stale air, and that ever-present bowl of dried potpourri. The living room was packed. Conversations halted as eyes turned toward me. "Well, look who finally showed up," someone muttered. "Is she wearing sweats?" another whispered. I glanced down. Tailored black slacks and a designer coat. Quiet luxury, but clearly lost on this crowd. Then Lucas emerged from the kitchen, beaming. "Everyone, this is Zoe, my wife, and—" he gestured at her belly. "Your future niece or nephew." "Congratulations," I said. He smirked. "Still coding in a corner somewhere. Come on, Emma, don't play shy. What's it like being a tech nerd now?" His tone was light, but his eyes gleamed with challenge. Laughter rippled. I felt my jaw tighten. "I work in tech," I replied. "If you've ever returned home with more power than they imagined, hit subscribe, because the next part of the story is where everything changes." "Tech, huh?" Lucas smirked. "Like fixing printers or answering help desk calls." He turned to Zoe. Emma was always the weird one, probably working out of some basement somewhere. I just smiled faintly. Something like that. Mom clapped her hands. "Dinner will be ready soon. Emma, put your things down. Lucas using your old room as his office now, so you'll be sleeping on the couch." Of course he was. Of course I would be. The night was a slow drip of condescension. Aunt Leela cornered me by the sad bowl of punch. "Your brother's starting his own business. He's such a visionary. And you're still in computers." "I write software," I replied. She scrunched her nose. Well, someone has to do the boring stuff." Uncle Tom leaned over during dinner prep. "Cashier position still open at my store. Pays minimum wage, but it's honest." "Thanks," I said politely. "I'm good." At dinner, they set me at the far end of the table next to the kitchen door. Lucas predictably held the spotlight. "This is going to disrupt everything," he declared. "We just need the startup capital to launch. It's a game changer," he boasted, leaning back. "Emma, you wouldn't get it too technical for you." I raised an eyebrow but stayed silent, my fork pausing midair. "How much?" Dad asked. 500 grand to get rolling," Lucas said cautiously. I nearly choked on my water. It was every cliché failed startup pitch I'd ever heard. "We'll figure something out," Mom said, patting his hand. "Family helps family." After dinner, she handed me a blanket and gestured toward the couch. Easter morning came with Lucas and Zoe storming down the stairs like kids. Presents piled high. They unwrapped mine, luxury gifts thoughtfully chosen. "Emma, these are beautiful," Mom gasped, holding up her new bag. "Where'd you get the money for this?" she asked sharply. "You're not in trouble, are you?" I shook my head, biting back a retort. But when it came to my turn, "Oh no!" Mom gasped too loudly. "Emma, we completely forgot." Lucas burst out laughing, "Just like when we were kids." "Don't cry this time," he smirked. "You're violent now." Something shifted inside me. Not sadness, not anger, just clarity. "I'm not going to cry," I said evenly, reaching into my purse. "Actually, I bought myself a pretty great gift this year." I pulled out my keychain and held it up. The brushed steel caught the light. Mom frowned. "What's that?" "Keys," I said simply. "To my new condo. I closed on it last week." Silence fell like a dropped plate. Dad blinked. "You bought a condo with money?" "From my job," I said. "My company just licensed a machine learning framework I built to a major international pharma. My cut was solid." Mom's eyes narrowed. "How solid?" I shrugged. "About $250,000, 0 cents after taxes. You could have heard a fork drop." Lucas's mouth hung open. Zoe's eyes widened. Mom and Dad stared like I'd confessed to living a double life. $250,000, 0 cents, Mom said, her voice pitching up. "What kind of job pays bonuses like that?" "I told you," I said calmly. "I'm a machine learning engineer. I build AI systems for Fortune 500 clients." Dad leaned in. How long have you been earning this kind of money? Since graduation, I said. The bonuses change, but my salary's been 6 figures for a while. That's when the switch flipped. Mom stood up, all sunshine and sugar. Sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? We're so proud of you. Much low. You didn't call me once in 8 years. Her smile faltered, but she pressed on. We always knew you'd do well, Dad chimed in. Lucas, did you hear that? Your sister works with Fortune 500 companies. Lucas' jaw clenched. Zoe leaned in, whispering something into his ear. Mom perched beside me. So tell us about this condo. How many bedrooms? 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. Lodo close to work, I said. She beamed. We should visit. Family should stick together. I almost laughed. Family? After 8 years of silence. Actually, I said, standing, I've got a long drive ahead. Mom reached for my arm. You just got here. Stay. Dad nodded. We haven't even talked about your career. As I packed, I could hear them whispering, voices hushed and urgent. When I came back downstairs, suitcase in hand, they were waiting. Those eager, strained smiles already setting off alarm bells. Before you head out, Dad said, stepping forward, we should talk about Lucas' business opportunity. As you mentioned, he needs a little capital to get started. Lucas smiled like he was doing me a favor. It's a solid investment. You'd be in on the ground floor. You owe us, Emma, he said, voice sharp. All those years we supported you. I stared, incredulous. Supported me? You mocked me. How much? I asked flatly. Just $500,000, 0 cents, he said. With what you make? That's nothing, right? I looked at them. My parents who once laughed when Uncle Tom offered me a cashier job, my brother who spent a lifetime mocking me, and his wife who chuckled along just yesterday morning. No, I said. The smiles vanished. What do you mean, no? Mom snapped. I mean, I'm not giving you any money. But we're family, Dad said, as if the word held any weight. I folded my arms. Where was family when I was told to find my own place the day after graduation, or when you paid for Lucas's college but left me to figure it out alone? That was different, Mom said. We didn't have money back then. You had money for Lucas, I said. Lucas showed promise, she barked, then immediately backtracked. I mean, we thought work would be better for you. I grabbed my bag. I need to go. You selfish brat, Lucas exploded. After everything this family did for you, what did you do? I asked. Raise me, feed me? That's parenting, not charity. And you made sure I knew I wasn't wanted. I walked to the door as they followed, still protesting. You'll regret this, Mom shouted. I won't, I said, and meant it. By the time I hit the highway, my phone lit up. Alls, texts, guilt trip, I blocked them all. At a rest stop beak in Denver, I poured a glass of wine and watched the city glow from my balcony. Clara texted. Heard what happened. Sorry about them. Don't be, I replied. This was the best gift they ever gave me. Freedom. She sent back a laughing emoji. Your mom's telling everyone you're ungrateful. Let her, I wrote back. That night, I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I woke to a flood of messages, but not from my parents or Lucas. These were from aunts, uncles, and cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Your mother told us what happened. How could you abandon your family? Lucas is trying to build something. You should support him. We always knew you were selfish. One by one, I blocked them. Every name, every guilt trip gone. Except for Clara. She called that afternoon. Jesus, Emma, she sighed. The whole family's imploding. Your mom called everyone saying you're rich and won't help Lucas. Good for her, I said dryly. She's telling people you've forgotten where you came from. Of course she is. God forbid they admit that the daughter they ignored actually did something with her life. Clara's voice softened. I'm proud of you. For what it's worth. It's worth a lot, I told her. You're the only one I care to keep in touch with. Are you really okay cutting everyone else off? Clara, I said gently. I cut them off 8 years ago. This just made it official. That evening, I met my friends at our usual spot in Lodo, a cozy wine bar with worn leather booths and fairy lights over the bar. I told them everything. Good riddance, Sophie said. They sound toxic as hell. Do you think you'll miss them? Another friend asked. I thought about it. No, I think I've been mourning the family I never had. This just closed the book. I raised my glass. To chosen family. To chosen family, they echoed, smiling. As we toasted, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I switched it to silent. 6 months later, summer had wrapped the city in sunlight. I sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching the morning unfold below. It felt like emerging from a fog I hadn't realized I'd been living in. Clara still called weekly with updates, not because I asked, but because she cared. Lucas's daughter was born last month, she told me. Harper. That's nice, I said, and meant it. I hoped that little girl would be loved better than I was. According to Clara, Lucas and Zoe were still living with my parents. The big startup still just talk, even the relatives were getting tired of hearing about it. Apparently, my parents had turned my betrayal into their favorite sob story. At every family gathering, they painted me as the ungrateful daughter who vanished despite all their sacrifices. Meanwhile, my life had taken a turn I wouldn't trade for anything. 3 months after that disastrous Easter, I met Owen at a coffee shop near my office. A freelance data analyst with a gentle smile and a deep respect for boundaries, he understood the tech world and, more importantly, understood what it meant to walk away from a toxic family. He had done it too. Work was thriving. I'd been promoted to lead AI engineer for a major biotech security integration. The pay raise was great, but what thrilled me more was the freedom to build something groundbreaking. My team respected me. My ideas mattered. I was finally building the kind of life I used to dream about from a lumpy couch in my parents' basement. About a month ago, Lucas somehow got hold of a new number and called. Hey, Emma, he said awkwardly. Chipper. Thought we could catch up. What do you want? I asked. Hurry. Harper should meet her aunt. Things are tight right now. Mom and Dad's house needs work. No, I said. You don't even know how much. Doesn't matter, he exploded. I hung up, blocked the number, and as I sat there in my own condo sipping coffee beside Owen, I felt nothing but peace. Everything they said I'd never have. Love, stability, success I built on my own terms. Clara later mentioned they were turning my old bedroom into a nursery. It didn't sting. That room never felt like mine. This one does. They still tried reaching me through distant cousins and family friends. My favorite was Aunt Leela's voicemail. Family is forever, Emma. But I'd already walked away, and I wasn't turning back. Owen and I were planning a trip to New Zealand next month. We'd been learning the language, mapping trails, and bookmarking cafes. Clara messaged me. Mom saw your post. She says it's typical. You'd rather vacation than help family. Good, I said. Maybe she'll finally get it. Last week, I was promoted to head of engineering, top 1% salary. My boss said, you earned this. We celebrated with friends. Sophie joked, your mom probably sensed your bank balance went up that night. Owen brought champagne to the balcony. Let's buy a house, I said, with space, a yard, maybe a dog. My phone buzzed. Clara again. Mom says, you must be a drug dealer, I laughed. Let them spin their stories. I am living mine. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment. Tell me what you walked away from, what peace you built. Your support reminds me that I'm not alone. And maybe you need that reminder too. My advice? Don't wait for permission to choose yourself. Build the life that reflects your worth, not their expectations. And if you relate, hit subscribe.